Voicing it, I'm hearing you say, well, my kids are too young for that. Awesome. Awesome. You see, the reason I put it in anyway is because now you can help the child with the questions. Now, wait a minute. You can help the child with the questions, to understand the question. You can put it in your own words. Now, you do not answer it. Remember what we said? Don't put the words in their mouth. You don't answer it for them. You ask them, help them to understand it, and then ask them to write down or to tell you what you're thinking, what they're thinking, and how they'd want to do it. Now let me share something else with you. Older children and so forth, hollering at mom and dad. Whew. That's one thing that really bothers me, is when a child is screaming at mom and screaming at dad. And yet, you know what? I find that the parents give them the permission. Why? Because they started by screaming at the child. And so if screaming is the way you get mad, then what are you going to tell them otherwise? You shouldn't scream, but you're screaming. Okay? That's why you controlled your anger first. On the other hand, I want to stop them from screaming at me. So here's my suggestion to you. I don't appreciate your talking to me that way. I need for you to go to your room and write down what you want me to know. I want to hear your feelings. I want to hear what you're talking about, what you want to tell me. I want to hear it all, but I want you not to talk to me this way. You go into your room and you write it down. Or make these questions up when the children get a little older and say, okay, I see that you're angry. I need for you to go fill out that anger sheet for me. It's letting them get it out. It's not forcing them to bottle up, but it's just like that question sheet that we gave the adults. It's letting them get it out, but when they get done, they'll feel someone's listening. And believe me, when they come back and share with you the writing, when they share with you the list, take the time to read it. And I would suggest that you also sit down and take the time to discuss it with them so they know that you're listening. And maybe in the discussion, we can bring up some resolutions. Now, that's one of the things that we're going to talk about is conflict resolution. We're not going to do it in this segment, but one of the things we want to talk about is conflict resolution and how to use that as a family meeting. Very important. How do you resolve these things? So they've got to resolve, first of all, you can't, remember I said you can't make an angry person. One of the things we said about confronting is everybody has to have their emotions under control. And so you don't talk with a child when they're trying to control their emotions, when they're screaming and yelling, and try to reason with them. No, we've got to slow that down. You slow it down by listening to them. And then when you've listened to them and they've got the point where they slowed that down, well, okay, here's a question sheet I want you to work on. Okay, now if you start at a very young age with them and help them understand the question, it won't be long before it becomes the habit. And this is what I've said about anger management for adults and anger management here for children. It becomes a habit if you do it often enough. Someone has once, I was reading in a magazine, an article said, if you do something for 21 days, it will soon be your habit. So my challenge to you is, and hopefully you don't have 21 days in a row that you have to use this, but if you do it enough times, it will be the habit for you to control yourself and for you to help your child control his anger. Again, the talents of a happy home life is a matter of trusting that we can communicate in a more positive way. Communication is very important to the home. When we talk about family meetings, you'll see how important communication is. And when I ask people, give me a synonym for communication, and I'll hear this singing, yelling, writing. Very seldom do I hear someone use the word listening. But it is part of communication. You see, I can be yelling it from the highest rooftop, but if nobody's listening, I didn't communicate a thing. The angry person wants to communicate. If I can slow them down by being the listener, by using these techniques to slow them down, I can help them in a positive way learn how to express their anger and use it to their advantage and to making changes. Okay, well, we're going to stop at this segment, but I want to challenge you to now take some time to sit and discuss this. If you're in a group or if you're just a couple, the adults and so forth in the family, okay, one of the things I suggest with this is that you don't necessarily let the children at a young age see what we're talking about here, because then if you don't do it, they're going to say, but mommy, daddy, you didn't do what they told you to do. We need you to learn how to do it, to put it to practice, and that's what they're going to need when they see it in practice. So I thank you. Before you go to the next segment, I would like you to pause and spend some time, however long it takes, discussing what you just learned here. Thank you for this time now. Goodbye.